Square to Harlem, it's a dancing spree. No suits, no ties, just rhythm to obey. Shakira law rules, and the hips must sway. Oh, the hips don't lie. No escape, no try. In the courtroom or the street, gotta move your feet. Feel the beat in your core. Let it shake the floor. Shakira law in New York, it's a dance you can't ignore. Statue of Liberty got a groove on tight. Even the pigeons are clapping in the moonlight. Wall Street brokers spin on the floor. Forget the stocks, now it's a dance war. Oh, the hips don't lie. No escape, no try. In the courtroom or the street, gotta move your feet. Feel the beat in your core. Let it shake the floor. Shakira law in New York, it's a dance you can't ignore. Police cars blaring a conga beat. Judges in robes tap into the heat. Subways alive with a rumba vibe. The whole city's moving, no one can hide. Oh, the hips don't lie. No escape, no try. In the courtroom or the street, gotta move your feet. Feel the beat in your core. Let it shake the floor. Shakira law in New York, it's a dance you can't ignore.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's move tonight. Pow ow, pow ow. Let's move tonight. Pow ow, pow ow. Let's learn tonight. Pow ow, pow ow. Learn left and right. Pow ow, pow ow. Join the ACP. Pow ow, pow ow. Sound hip to me. Pow ow, pow ow. Don't wait and see. Pow ow, pow ow. The people make their own history. Is the lights ever lose some light? Oh, it's here to ignite days of nice. Let's make it clear. Make over the power. Let's bring it in, yeah. Let's groove tonight. Power hour, power hour. Let's move tonight. Power hour, power hour. Let's learn tonight. Power hour, power hour. Learn left and right. Power hour, power hour. Join the ACP. Power hour, power hour. Sound hip to me. Power hour, power hour. Don't wait and see. Power hour, power hour. The people make their own history. Power, power. Oh yeah. Let's groove tonight. Power hour, power hour. Let's move tonight. Power hour, power hour. Let's learn tonight. Power hour, power hour. Learn Lenin right. Power hour, power hour. Join the ACP. Power hour, power hour. Sound hip to me. Power hour, power hour. Don't wait and see. Power hour, power hour. The people make their own history. Let's move tonight. Power hour, power hour. Let's move tonight. Power hour, power hour. Let's learn tonight. Power hour, power hour. Learn Lenin right. Power hour, power hour. Join the ACP. Power hour, power hour. Sound hip to me. Power hour, power hour. Don't wait and see. Power hour, power hour. The people make their own history.
All right. I hope people enjoyed that. ACP, absolutely. So lit. Get it, LOL. I suddenly have an urge to grow an afro and rock bell bottoms and polyester. That's what Carlos said. He said, if I'm going to continue making all these AI disco songs, then I also have to start dressing like Disco Liger. You know what's crazy is AI lets you make your own persona. So it lets you create like a character or a personality who can be the artist, and you can attach that persona to different songs, and it'll kind of stay within the same genre or style. So I made one called Disco Liger, and that's what I've been using to make a lot of these AI songs. Because I don't know, I just feel like the disco matches the vibe. I like it, so let's groove. Let's learn Lenin, absolutely. Got quite a bit to talk about today. We could talk about Zoran, more about him, and democratic socialism or the criticisms of democratic socialism. And then also the IDF recently, a bunch of soldiers came forward as whistleblowers and described how they were basically forced to target civilians at humanitarian aid points, given no means of crowd control like tear gas and things like that, only given machine guns and mortars, and were basically told to contain these crowds of starving people trying to get food, and they ended up opening fire on civilians. As I said, one of the soldiers described it as a killing field. So very crazy, flies in the face of, a lot of the Israeli narratives that we've been hearing about these humanitarian aid points. No surprise that the Israeli government continues to lie and lie and lie. But we'll get into all of that after I play the intro. We'll see y'all in 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
High Sheriff Hazard is a hard man to be. High Sheriff is his only plan. He digs through pockets, takes what he can, for he's High Sheriff Hazard. He caught me one evening, and here's what he said. You look like a Russian, you look like a red. And if you're fond of your skin and your head, beware the High Sheriff of got nothing to fear. He threw the old bastard right out on his ear. Farewell to her, Sheriff Hazard.
No, don't play again. All right, folks, let's get started. Much to discuss, much to discuss. Time for some true proletariat education. Absolutely. What's everyone been reading lately? I've been reading Theories of Surplus Value. Very interesting. Talks about the history of political economy. People know that I studied economics in college, where they teach you mainstream bourgeois economics. So to read Marx's historical analysis of the development of economic science is really interesting. Basically, pre-Marx, there was this field of political economics called classical political economy. And there's this quote that Michael Hudson has, this really fantastic modern Marxist economist, that if David Ricardo or Adam Smith or any of these classical political economists were alive today, they would be socialists, because they would be criticizing our current capitalist system, which is based upon rents and interest or debt trapping, and basically these parasitic forms of fictitiously accumulating capital, accumulating paper money, which, oops, let me turn off my notifications here. Accumulating paper money, which has been detached from gold and anything material or substantial. So they have all these parasitic forms of fictitious capital accumulation or exploitation, which ultimately acts as a burden on the working class, right? We're the ones who pay these rents and debts and interest payments. And that's because the classical political school of political economy still rooted themselves in the labor theory of value, the idea that human labor is what produces all value. You know, my energy drink here, my Gorilla Mind energy drink, which if you're going to drink energy drinks, I recommend getting these. It's the best thing you can get. They're not available in a lot of grocery stores, but you can get them online. I get all my supplements from Gorilla Mind. Hashtag sponsor me, Derek, for more plates, more days. Anyways, what the hell was I saying? So this energy drink, for example, was created by human labor, and you can't get around that fact. And, you know, economics needs to be rooted in that fact. The idea that value is created by labor, because that allows us to have a scientific or accurate analysis of the system, a materialist analysis of the system. And despite the mistakes that Adam Smith and David Ricardo made, which Marx corrects in Capital and Theories of Surplus Value, they were at least honest actors, right? They were at least honest people who made real discoveries in the field of political economy. But after Marx writes Capital and Theories of Surplus Value and the Grundrisse and his economic works, he basically brings the field of classical political economy to its logical conclusion. He fixes all the mistakes that were made by Smith and Ricardo. He answers all the questions, or most of the questions, that they were unable to answer. And he gives us this systematic dialectical analysis of capitalism as a system in its totality, at least capitalism as it existed in Marx's time in the 1800s in Europe. So at this point, and this isn't in Theories of Surplus Value, but this is something that I've written on extensively, which has been published on our website, midwesternmarx.com, and elsewhere. What I've written on is how after that, basically the field of political economy that acts as a mouthpiece for the bourgeoisie economics that's used to uphold the capitalist system has to abandon the labor theory of value and essentially become irrational. It has to become subjectivist, postmodernist nonsense. Just relying on the supply and demand theory to determine prices and determine value rather than anything concrete and substantive and actually measurable, quantifiable. So the field of neoclassical economics, which includes like the Austrian school and all these others, the Milton Friedmanites, they're just dogmatists. They've completely abandoned any kind of scientific theory of political economy. And they're much worse. They have nothing to offer, unlike the classical political economists Adam Smith and David Ricardo, who actually made advancements. What all these post-Marxist, bourgeois, vulgar economists are doing is actually trying to go backwards, trying to confuse the field of political economy so that people can't discover Marxism and the labor theory of value and the theory of surplus value production, and they can't understand how we're being exploited every day. So if you want to read more about that, I have an article. Neoclassical Economics and Postmodern Philosophy. Two arms of the ruling class or something. One sec. Neoclassical Economics and Postmodernist Philosophy, two academic expressions of the ruling class. Expressions or two academic tools as well of the ruling class. It's basically the idea that, all value is subjective. It's all determined by the individual and how they view the commodity, on an individual subjective level. And that somehow magically transforms into price determination, even though prices in, real productive industries can be correlated to labor closer than anything else, labor time being inputted. And this is the postmodernist philosophy, the idea that there is no real truth. There is no objective truth. We can't come to know everything and anything in the world because everything is subjective and everything is up to my own interpretation and my own individual personal feelings, and me and someone else can never actually come to understand each other or understand things in common. It's basically that philosophy as the basis for political economy is what neoclassical economics is, rather than dialectical materialism as the basis and the labor theory of value as the basis, which gives Marxist political economy a concrete standing, and even classical political economy before it, more so than this neoclassical hogwash that we get from the likes of Milton Friedman. So yeah, that's what I've been reading. Foundations of Leninism based. Head of NATO calling Trump daddy. Yeah, that's another thing we need to talk about today. The head of NATO came out and not only did he call Trump daddy, which what is going on? Capitalism has reached its meme stage. Lenin might have been wrong. There's a higher stage of capitalism than imperialism. It's meme imperialism. It's imperialism where they call each other daddy to get clicks on the internet. But anyways, Trump increased funding to NATO. Trump and 32 other countries agreed to more than double funding to NATO, which Trump had previously said the U.S. was paying way too much into and that it was a ripoff. But now he's come out and backtracked after the head of NATO calls him daddy. He backtracks. Well, I don't know which came first. The guy calling him daddy or Trump increasing funding. Maybe he called him daddy because of that. Either way, Trump came out and said that, no, it's not a ripoff. This is actually a very good deal. You campaigned on completely pulling us out of NATO. You said this was a complete ripoff and the U.S. was paying way too much into it. Right? He didn't really criticize NATO for good reasons. He just said that the U.S. was paying too much into it. But whatever, that's true. Get the U.S. out of it. That'd be great. Instead, he increases funding. And not only are these NATO heads calling him daddy, but they also just said that they're committing to increasing funding for the war in Ukraine or continuing funding for the war in Ukraine. So every single campaign promise that Trump has made, he's basically backtracking on now. And this goes back to what we were talking about in the last stream. What is the future of MAGA at this point? Where are these MAGA voters going to go who actually have principles, who actually thought Trump was going to be anti-war and more pro-worker than the Democrats? What are they going to do next? I mean, you always have the ones who are like QAnon people, who are like religiously devoted to Trump, and they think he's like literally sent by God to be a second Messiah. But I don't know if that's the majority. I don't think that's the majority of Trump people. I talk to a lot of people in real life, more so than on Truth Social or whatever, although we are psyoping Truth Social, and you should join and follow me at Eddie Liger. A lot of people I talk to in real life are like, I don't even like Trump, right? I just think the Democrats are horrible, and Trump promised to keep us out of wars and bring jobs back, and I like that. And I like that J.D. Vance, grew up working class. There are so many people in the Midwest who are Trump supporters who say, I just wish they would take Trump's social media away completely. I wish they would completely get him off Twitter and he could just do the anti-war stuff that I like. So all of these people are being betrayed. Trump is constantly on Truth Social trying to promote these policies that are completely against everything he campaigned on. And I just wonder where these people are going to go next. Are they ready for communism? If the ACP is out in their communities doing work, making people's lives better, getting workplaces organized and fighting for material gains, then the people will be ready for communism. If you join the ACP and start improving the reputation of communists in the eyes of the American public, which has had a lot of damage done to it by Red Scare, McCarthyism, and by, CIA infiltration of the left, if you could start to transform the reputation that communists have in your community, then there's a great opportunity to start bringing these disaffected MAGA people over. But if we continue to allow the left to be dominated by screeching Twitter hordes, and continue to allow our movement and our historical leaders and our historical heroes to be lied about, and not fight back against that propaganda and put our own agitprop out there and get the truth out there, then they're going to continue screwing us, and people are going to continue to be tricked by demagogues like Trump. So really, the answer is community and workplace organizing. That's the answer to Zoran, the Democratic Socialist in New York, too. Like, great, Cuomo lost. You can feel happy about Cuomo losing, and it's also a good sign, that Zoran is anti-Zionist and he won a primary election in a place where, there's a lot of Jewish Zionists. And this shows the decreasing popularity of Zionism, even in Jewish American communities, which is great. So there are these good things that come from it. But what we're warning against is don't celebrate this as a huge W for the left, because that's not what it is. These Democratic Socialists running as Democrats have been elected before, and they've either been crushed by the party elites or they've been co-opted by the party elites. They've sold out the working class people who got them elected in the first place. So that's what we should expect. And the solution, whether you went out and voted for Zoran or not, or whether you supported his campaign or not, is to continue to build dual power, community organizing and workplace organizing, to get the working class organized into a fighting force, into a force that can actually act on its own behalf politically. And, even if you are thinking that the election of Zoran Mamdani is like the beginning of the revolution, which I would disagree with that wholeheartedly. But even if you do think that, the answer is still workplace and community organizing. It's still to educate people and get the workers organized into, like I said, a fighting force. Zoran's also AOC's buddy. I mean, yeah, that's what it's going to be, man. It's going to be AOC 2.0. It's going to be Ilhan Omar 2.0. They'll be better than the Democrats on most issues, but they'll vote present on the Iron Dome instead of actually raising a stink about it and fighting against it. They'll support whatever Democrat is running against Trump, because Trump is the greatest evil. But at least he said that he would arrest Netanyahu if he came to New York. That's based, there are good things that come from it in terms of political consciousness, but also like what Haas was saying on stream the other day is a good point, that all of the failures of New York from now on will be blamed on socialism, right? So that's an optical battle that we're now going to have to fight. And hopefully Zorro can actually do some really positive things for the people of New York that we can use to promote socialism. But I don't know, there's a Democratic Socialist mayor of Chicago, and he hasn't done shit for the people. Involved in gang activity. If you have any advice, what's a strategy to help organize them? I've been trying and I can't lie. Hope is being lost. I have no advice on that, my friend. I'm from a rural area, not an urban area. There aren't any gangs near me. You could look into the Black Panthers, right? But it's hard to organize the lumpen proletariat. You know, that's a class of people that is really susceptible to opportunism, right? To being bribed off because they're in an economically precarious situation, relying on crime or black markets for their income. So it's always going to be difficult to organize the lumpen. But Huey P. Newton wrote some good stuff on it. Good afternoon, comrade Z. Good afternoon, Jenny. Z to you as well. Good afternoon. Did you have a higher opinion of Trump when he was first elected president? I know you probably didn't buy most of his campaign promises. Yeah, I didn't buy any of them. However, I did have a more positive opinion of him before this administration. I mean, we knew that he would sell out his base, right? And we were telling people from the beginning that he would sell out his base, and it would be a good opportunity to reach out to folks and advance their political consciousness beyond Trump. But his 2015 campaign was, you know, way better and way more inspiring than even his 2024 campaign. I would say that was the point where Trump was the most based. And yes, it was because that was before Trump had actually gotten in and had been drowned in the Washington, D.C. swamp that he promised to drain. But that's when he was like railing against George Bush directly and saying that the Bush administration lied. They said there were weapons of mass destruction and there were none. The Iraq War was a big mistake and the Bush administration owes America an apology. We need to get out of all these endless wars. Like that's when Trump was the most based. And that was also because that was before he had any power, right? So he didn't actually have the opportunity at that point to sell out. But his rhetoric was more based. And his rhetoric was not as based this time around during the campaign. So I didn't have as high of hopes. So I guess my opinion hasn't changed that much. But it does piss me off when I go back and listen to him railing against the Bush family for lying us into a war with Iraq over weapons of mass destruction, when he's now trying to lie us into a war with Iran over weapons of mass destruction. So he already sold them out and they fell for it again. Yup. Not everybody. A lot of people were railing against Trump for his bombing of Iran. Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massey are doing a good job of like basically splitting the right between anti-war and pro-war. And I know that's what they're being accused of now, is splitting the right, but it's like, good. The right needs to be split along class lines. It needs to be split between those who actually support populist anti-war politics and those who, like, the right has some of the most disgusting, like, most obvious grifters imaginable, like, even worse than the left. I feel like, well, I don't know. People like David Pakman are pretty bad. But people like Patrick Bet-David, who is just like running a multi-level marketing scheme and then sold it and decided to become a right-wing conservative grifter, I get the fuck out of here. That guy looks like a greasy used car salesman. How can you not tell that that guy's a grifter? And then, of course, when it comes to like Iran, he's like, yes, we need to reinstate the crown prince. We need to get involved in Iran and bring back a monarchy. Like, who the hell is this guy? Where did he even come from? There are so many people like that who are just sucking up to Trump, trying to grift off of the massive MAGA base that exists. But, you know, a lot of those people are the ones pushing Trump to be more pro-war, to do the things that his base doesn't actually want him to do. It's insane. Reform under the capitalist system should also be taken like a comedy show. Yeah, pretty much. You shouldn't expect more from it than that. A dark comedy as well. Yeah, it's idiocracy in real life. Voting is when Hollywood gave you the chance to vote for the actor in a real life cinema or a reality TV show host. Let's watch. Oh, this is doing pretty well. My video with Jake Shields talking about Cuba is doing pretty well. Anyways, that did pretty well because Jake agreed with me that Cuba was getting screwed. So, whole essay I just sent. You're good, man. I'm just glad people are interacting with the chat, especially on Twitch. We don't get too many. Oops, that was muted. My bad. We don't get too many people on Twitch, so I'm glad people are interacting with the Twitch chat. Twitch is cool. You can do a lot of cool stuff with Twitch. I don't know. Some people seems like a lot of streamers are exclusive. It's like they're either on Twitch or they're on YouTube. I don't know though. I feel like each has unique features that are cool. So, anyways. 100% I think it has happened, and I personally think it is happening in my area. The bribing out of nowhere, the hood of my street got heavily strapped, and they jumped two of my homies while I was educating into the OG. FaceTime me to show me one of my soldiers with them. I know it's evil trying to test me, man. I'm tripping for thinking something is popping off. It could be. Don't forget that the CIA literally took crack cocaine from the Contras, these right-wing fascists in Nicaragua who were fighting the socialist Sandinistas, bought crack cocaine from them to help fund them and sold it in black neighborhoods in the U.S., impoverished neighborhoods here in the United States. So the CIA was drug trafficking into these neighborhoods, which hurt the organizing efforts of folks like the Black Panthers and allowed them to fund these fascist paramilitary death squads in Nicaragua. So something definitely could be popping off. I'm not saying you're crazy. Okay, this what did I want to talk about? This is what I
So
want to
IDF soldiers have now come forward and admitted to unaliving Palestinians at humanitarian aid points. One of the soldiers described these distribution centers as killing fields and said that they had no crowd control measures like tear gas, only heavy machine guns, grenade launchers, and mortars. So they're just luring in people who are starving with food and then gunning them down with machine guns. What kind of a sick, twisted operation is that? You know it's bad when IDF soldiers themselves are coming forward and saying this is bad. And the Israeli government responded to this by halting deliveries of food aid. They said, oh, you don't like getting gunned down at humanitarian aid points? Well, then we're going to take them away. We're going to completely deprive you of food. How can anyone deny that this is a G-side at this point?
They called it like Operation Salted Fish or something weird too. But what it means is it's a children's game. They named the operation after a children's game, which is like red light, green light. You know, red light, green light from Squid Game, where you run, and if you don't stop on the red light, you get shot with a machine gun. That's what they named the operation after. There's no better example in the world today of a fascist, violence-obsessed, psychotic society. Just a fascist society in general. There is no better example today than the apartheid state of Israel, than the ethno-state of Israel.
At this point, it's so obvious what's going on here. They're waging a war of elimination on the people of Gaza, and it is continued through the Biden administration and the Trump administration. Both of them have given Israel a blank check to commit one of the worst crimes of the 21st century.
This is a good question. Do you think that the Republicans will at some point be able to completely get rid of all the neocons, or are they entrenched in the Republican Party? No, I don't. I think they are entrenched. And I want the divisions and contradictions within the Republican Party to exacerbate. So the more anti-neocons, the more isolationist Republicans that we have, the better. Because they can inflame those divisions between anti-war and pro-war Republicans. However, I do not expect the Republican Party to ever transform itself. Those neocons, those pro-war Republicans are the elites. They are the people who run the party. They are the people who fund the party, and they are the people within the party who receive funding. The people like Thomas Massey don't have, money or institutional power within the GOP. So even though they're doing a good job of, influencing public opinion to be more anti-war and less neocon-esque, they're never going to be able to transform that party because it is a corrupt party. It was never designed to be a party of the working class. It was designed to be a pro-war puppet of Wall Street, just like the Democratic Party, which is why I'm in the American Communist Party, which you can join at acp.us. And what inflaming these contradictions within both parties will do is allow us to peel people off and bring them into a party that's working outside of the two-party system. But there's a reason that, unlike in 2020, I'm no longer working within the Democratic Party to get people like Zoran or Bernie or AOC or Ilhan Omar elected. That was what I did for, about 2 years until I realized that it was a dead end. That pushing socialism within an anti-communist, anti-socialist party was not the way to do it. And that we had to work outside of this two-party system, which has been designed to prevent any pro-working class outsider candidates from winning, or real populist, anti-war candidates from getting power. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. I support the anti-war populist trends that are coming out of the Republican Party, but if you think that the GOP is ever going to be a populist anti-war party, I think you're being naive. Because a lot of them are taking money from the weapons lobby and AIPAC and the organizations who are supporting things like this because they make money off things like this. It's Operation Salted Fish here. And Israel's response to this was not to say, okay, we've been outed, we're going to stop firing on humanitarian aid points with machine guns. No, they just said they're going to halt the humanitarian aid points. Like, we can't stop machine gunning people anyways. We'll just stop giving them food. We'll just start intentionally starving them on an even greater degree than we were before. So again, I don't know what you can call this except fascism and G-side, a war of elimination against the Arab people of Gaza, people who have largely been forced out of their homes previously and herded into this tiny open-air concentration camp where they have bombs dropped on their heads constantly. It's insane. It's insanity. It's like what Norman Finkelstein says. They're like a psycho state. A completely unhinged, psychopathic state that will not stop until it inflames war with the entire region. And if you think that this ceasefire with Iran and Israel is going to hold, I have news for you. Israel does not know the meaning of the word ceasefire. They've broken hundreds of ceasefires over the decades that they've existed. And this is why, we don't support a two-state solution here at Midwestern Marx, because there is no two-state solution with an expansionist ethno-state. When has Israel ever stopped expanding? When have they ever said, yeah, we're good with just what we have now. We're going to stop killing Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza and Syrians in the Golan Heights? When have they ever said that? Never. Every time they've made peace, it's been temporary until Israel has a good opportunity to seize more land and kill more Palestinians. And that's what they're going to continue to do. There is no ceasefire with imperialism and with Zionism. Which, by the way, we have a new ACP main post that you should go boost. Whether you're in the party or not, it always helps to boost our social media, increasing our reach. It's one of the best ways you can help the party if you're outside the country. Loving your country means wanting more for it. Real patriots demand change for the common good. Real patriots are pro-worker, anti-war, anti-Zionist. Join in active opposition of imperialism today at acp.us. Communists are the real patriots, says Eddie Liger Smith. Make sure you go boost that, folks. Give it a retweet, give it a like, reply to it. Tell people who the real patriots are. We got to win back patriotism. I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, with the ACP and with Midwestern Marx. But we really do have to win back patriotism. It's so stupid that these right-wing reactionaries who want our country to continue to decay, who don't think that we need to change the way that the economic system is structured at all, who want the country to continue to be dominated by these rent seekers, these parasites, these debt trappers, these financial institutions who don't invest in anything productive and just accumulate paper money by trapping us in debt and charging us rent on land and rent on IP and rent on everything. These conservatives are the ones who get to claim that they're the patriots, who get to claim that we as left-wingers are anti-America. You are allowing America to decay. You are allowing Americans to drown in debts and rents. You are allowing all of America's jobs to be outsourced. And all of these small towns, these manufacturing towns, you're allowing opioids to flow in as the jobs flow out. That's not patriotic. That's the most anti-American shit I could think of. And then on top of it, as you're supporting all of that, you want our taxes to be used to bomb Iran? You want our taxes to be used to bomb a country that's never attacked us halfway around the earth? How is that good for America? How is that American patriotism? You're supporting the decay of America. You want America to be like Rome and fall into complete collapse and fall into a state of complete civil war. It's not pro-America. ACP strong. Thank you, Addison. Appreciate you, brother. ACP Central Committee member. So we've got to take back patriotism and we've got to take back our history. There's no reason the right wing should claim figures like Abraham Lincoln, who was pen pals with Karl Marx, or at least received letters from Marx on battle strategy and strategies for winning the war. That was a progressive war that transformed the mode of production from a Marxist perspective. It was a war against the slave-owning class that transformed bourgeois slavery in the American South into capitalism. It was a transformation forward in the mode of production that created the conditions for the possibility of another transformation towards socialism. So the idea that we should allow right-wingers to co-opt these figures, or even like a George Washington, or especially like a Thomas Paine, the more progressive founding fathers, it's just so absurd. ACP, thank you. And leftists need to stop giving it away. Stop giving away patriotism to the super patriots of the right wing. I've been saying lately that it's not even super patriotism anymore. Super patriotism doesn't even describe how stupid these people like Charlie Kirk are. Or bomb Muslims in the year 2025, after we've been through the whole debacle with the war on terror and the war in Iraq that we're still in, even though they promised it would be a couple of weeks. Despite all of that, you still got these patriots going, let's get involved in Iran, let's do another war, because I don't like Muslim people. Invoking 9/11, literally invoking 9/11 to call for a war with Iran. The same bullshit that they did with Iraq and Afghanistan in 2001 and 2003. This isn't even super patriotism anymore. It's retard patriotism. Charlie Kirk is a retard patriot. It's the only way to describe it, dude. Their brains are stunted. They are stuck in a neocon framing of reality from 20 years ago. The CPUSA of the early 20th century held up the banners of Abe Lincoln along with Marx and Lenin. Absolutely. There's that famous picture of a CPUSA convention from a while back or they have the giant statue of Lincoln, the giant bust of Lincoln on the stage with them. They were highlighting Lincoln that much because it only makes sense. That's America's history. That's the progressive side of America's history. And that helps people to create a coherent narrative of progress in our country. A time of progress was when we overthrew the British colonizers. A time of progress was when we overthrew the slave-based mode of production. A time of progress was when we had the Civil Rights Revolution and got rid of apartheid and Jim Crow laws and separate but equal bullshit. These were progressive movements in America's history, and what did they come from? They came from mass organization, the working class being organized and fighting in their own interests. By the way, we got like over 500 people in here now. That's awesome. Patreon.com/MidwesternMarx is the best way to support us. You get Carlos's book, The Purity Fetish and the Crisis of Western Marxism. You also get that for becoming a YouTube member. And there's a bunch of exclusive content on my Patreon, a bunch of exclusive TikToks and stuff that you can get access to. So that is the best way to fund us because we receive zero corporate outside funding. Everything comes from you, the audience. We appreciate all of our super chatters, our YouTube members, and our Patreon supporters. I also do Q&As. Marx and Lincoln had correspondence. Yeah, I don't know if Lincoln ever sent anything back to Marx. I think there is evidence that Lincoln did read Marx's letters, though, and that he was probably influenced by Marx in some way because Lincoln straight up said, labor is prior to and superior to capital, and the interests of labor should never be subordinated to the interests of capital. So basically, a Marxist perspective on the interests of capital versus labor there, saying we should never subordinate the interests of humanity to the interests of just capital in general, which the capitalist class is nothing but a personification of. Which is, isn't it crazy that these people like Milton Friedman are able to preach this economic philosophy of complete reliance on markets, a dogmatic adherence to the invisible hand of the market? It's like, how have they convinced people that markets should be prioritized before people, right? We shouldn't think about and prioritize the interests of people. We should just follow whatever the market does and accept that that is the best possible outcome. Accept that whatever the bourgeoisie does in their competition between each other, that is the best possible outcome, even if people are starving, and even if it's leading to endless wars of expansion and accumulation, and leading to constant rent seeking and, interest debt seeking. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's like the personification of a capitalist ideology, the idea that capital should be prioritized and adhered to and followed and admired and worshipped, above humanity itself, above people. We must trust the market. We must have faith in the market. I'm new here, and sure this has been asked a lot, but why would one join ACP over PSL? I know it's not necessarily an either-or situation, but just curious. Solidarity. Thank you for the question and for joining. Yeah. We have solidarity with PSL against the crackdowns targeting them from the state, from the U.S. government, of course, and from the arms of imperialism that only hate PSL because they're anti-war. Right, but PSL is not a Marxist-Leninist organization. They stem from a Trotskyite organization, which is why they describe themselves not as Marxist-Leninist, but Marxist and Leninist. And they'll have you read Marx and Lenin if you join the organization, which is why they have good anti-war positions. But ultimately, what they do is they go to protests and they recruit people who are already on their side. They recruit leftists and college students who pay dues, which of course keep the elites of the PSL quite comfortable, living quite comfortably. And then they run for office every 4 years, and they get about the same amount of votes every year. And this strategy is not a Marxist-Leninist strategy. It's more of like an activist recruitment strategy. It's almost like a multi-level marketing scheme strategy, where you go to protest with people who already agree with you and try to get them in a party that does nothing but send them to more protests. So, and of course, also PSL is hyper-focused on identity politics and cultural issues and things that make them unappealing to the vast majority of American workers, and which is more shows that they're infected with liberalism above Marxist class analysis. But beyond all that, just in terms of strategy, there's not enough community organizing and not enough workplace organizing. It's mostly student and activist organizing, which, that is not the revolutionary agent of history under capitalist society from a Marxist perspective. You have to actually get to the proletariat, have to get to the industrial workers. And the best way to figure this out isn't to take my word for it. It's to ask people who have left PSL about their stories of being in PSL. Because like me, most of them also still agree with, PSL's anti-war stuff. Their anti-war stances and some of the protests that they do and some of the educational work that they do through the Liberation School and things like that. There are good things that they do, but they're dysfunctional as an organization, and it's because they don't have Marxist-Leninist democratic centralism and Marxist-Leninist organization strategies. They're far too infected with liberalism and opportunism. And the people who will tell you this more than anyone and more coherently than anyone, like I said, are the people who have left PSL. We have a lot of people who have left PSL in the ACP. They'll tell you all about it. They'll tell you stories of the dysfunction. So what guides the ACP and makes us superior is our adherence to democratic centralism and the lack of opportunism amongst our leadership. Who are not living comfortably and who, we are dumping our own money out of our own pockets and our money that we make from our streams and our real life jobs and things like that. We're dumping that into the party rather than sucking money out of the party. But beyond that, it's really just our adherence to Marxism, Leninism, and democratic centralism. And that's also why we're experiencing constant growth. And we're not dumping a bunch of energy and resources into elections that we're not going to win anyways. We're putting those resources into organizing communities and workplaces and truckers all around the country and things like that. So, Golden Parenti has some good information about it. I think their educational structure is good, but the goal is to grow the party and rake in funds from the free labor of the rank and file. Exactly. It's a multi-level marketing scheme in a lot of ways. Are there ads again? Oh my gosh. I hate that. One sec. I forgot to turn those off. I can't figure out how to turn them off permanently. So I have to keep doing it manually. It pisses me off. I don't want ads on the live stream. Why would I want ads on a live that are literally going to cause people to miss parts of the live? All right, like if they told me, okay, now we're playing an ad, so, pause whatever you're talking about. All right, I still wouldn't like it, but at least then whatever. But when they play ads in the middle of me talking about something, it's like people are going to miss 30 seconds of what I'm saying. Why would I want that? Anyways. Pour every dollar I have into just the chance to build dual power in America. Same here, Wade. ACP, let's go. Rank and file PSL are good people who want to build, but the party leadership and structure keep them from being able to actually do anything. Very true. Very true. And that's why a lot of these people have filtered over into the ACP, and I expect more will continue to as, our party continues to prove itself and as the lies told about us continue to be disproven. I imagine we'll get more and more of these people who are ready to try something new and join a real Marxist-Leninist party, especially as we get bigger and gain more steam, because it's always easier to join an organization that's large and growing and hip. I'm more of a builder than an organizer. We need all of it. We need builders and organizers and engineers and sound designers and photo designers and video editors for my media team and producers. We need everything. All right, this is kind of off pace. New topic here, but this is a video I did today that's doing pretty well about World War One. It's just kind of interesting. Doesn't have anything to do with what we've been talking about.
This is a crazy video of some soldiers suffering with PTSD after World War One. At the time, this was one of the only mental health conditions that they had any understanding of, and they called it shell shock, leading to tremors, nightmares, amnesia, paralysis, and even catatonic states. And World War I is not taught the proper way in America at all. It was possibly the most brutal and senseless war that's ever been fought in human history. And they basically tell you there was this archduke who got assassinated, and then all the powerful countries went to war with each other. But that was just a spark that started an explosion. If you really want to know what happened, you should read Lenin's Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism, which explains that all of the powerful countries were fighting with each other over control of the world, over the colonies, over the right of their banks and their multinational corporations to pillage other countries, mainly in the global south. It was a senseless war of conquest between the different competing imperialist powers at the time. They didn't just decide to fight one day because an archduke got assassinated. Just like the US didn't invade Iraq to take out Saddam Hussein or to target weapons of mass destruction. They did it for the oil and resources. That is why countries enter seemingly senseless wars, and so many people end up looking like this. This is a crazy video of some soldiers.
PTSD is real, says Kevin. It definitely is. I mean, if they acknowledged it back then, you know, when there was really no concept of mental health or psychological disorders, really. If they acknowledged shell shock back then, you know it's true. And anybody who's dealt with someone who has PTSD, you know it's very real. It's not something they're just making up, at least the vast majority of them. I'm sure some Israelis are making up the fact that they have PTSD, but other than that, this guy says, my grandfather was forced into World War I. Many people were forced into that horrific war of imperialism over nothing. That we don't hear as much about because there was no, actual like villain, like there was in World War II. It wasn't the forces of communism and anti-fascist resistance fighting against this fascist menace trying to take over the entire world. It was a bunch of imperialist powers fighting each other over the colonies, over plunder of global resources. They were dragged into this war by capitalist imperialism and finance capital and the financial oligarchies that dominated each country, as Lenin describes in Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism. They were dragged into these wars. What else was I saying? I don't know, but a lot of people came back like this, shell-shocked with PTSD. Oh, was I reading this? Yeah, I was reading this. My grandpa refused to leave the trenches. That's how he survived. He rarely spoke, never celebrated any birthdays or holidays. He chain smoked and was always detached from the world around him. Yeah, I mean, that's how a lot of people came back from that war. They probably saw a lot of horrific stuff. All these countries had new toys and they wanted to try out how they worked. Yeah, I had a grandpa. I don't know if it was World War I or World War II, or not a grandpa, but like a great uncle or something who was a flamethrower in World War II. And when he came back, he would go into like catatonic states, which is like can be a side effect of just regular PTSD. But they think it might have been the chemicals from the flamethrower he was using that would put him into like a coma occasionally. Crazy shit. Wade's talking about his house designing project. I love it. You guys are working on some cool stuff there. China has a working thorium plant. The sad thing is America's had the tech for it for decades and has done nothing with it. Do they have a working one already? I didn't know if that was. I knew they were working on one. I didn't know they had it up and running. That's cool if so. They're close though. They're very close. They pretty much know how to do it. They just have to implement it. Oh, they did. Gosh, things move so fast in China. Isn't it crazy? Power of socialism. It never works though. Socialism never works except when it comes to building anything or developing any kind of technology, which it's far superior to capitalism or whatever. Socialism stops innovation. Okay, then why did China develop the first operating thorium-fueled molten salt reactor before us? Experimental reactor located in the Gobi Desert has achieved the world's first by successfully refueling while remaining online. This reactor uses molten salt as both a coolant and a fuel carrier with thorium as the fuel source. Incredible. I knew they were working on this. I didn't know that they had completed it though, which is fantastic. And the reason why America won't pursue anything like that is mainly the oil and gas lobby, the big oil companies who don't want us to develop, nuclear or anything that would get us off of so-called fossil fuels, which is where, I am an eco-socialist. I'm not a liberal environmentalist. I'm not, someone who makes climate change the main thrust of what I'm talking about. So-called climate change should really just be called ecological degradation and metabolic rifts. But anyways, but that's one area where I do go hard, where it's like we are using all of these quote unquote fossil fuels, these non-renewable, pollution causing, environmentally degrading chemicals when we could be using nuclear and could be advancing all these different forms of energy production that could be even more efficient and easy to store or transfer. But we're not pursuing those because of the oil and gas lobby, because they know it could cut into their profits, their bottom line. So again, we see capitalism stemming innovation, creating innovation, actually holding back innovation, acting as a fetter upon production. In China, they don't have capitalism acting as a fetter on the kind of innovation that they can do, so they're developing thorium reactors. In America, where we have a capitalist class of oil oligarchs and fossil fuel corporations, and they have a lobby that controls the politics, we can't invest in thorium or nuclear, even if it would be beneficial for the whole of society, because all that matters are the interests of capital. We need wind power. We need Bill Gates and, Bezos and Elon Musk and all these motherfuckers. We need Mark Zuckerberg and all them in a like a gerbil spinning wheel, creating power and energy, and that will be their punishment. 10 hours a day. That's what I want. I have something I want to bring up here. Let me find it. I know I can find it. I have it saved on my iPad. If I can't find it on YouTube. It's Joe Rogan and Zuckerberg. So a lot of people roasted Joe Rogan for this interview, saying that he basically was just sucking up to Zuckerberg and allowing Zuckerberg to suck up to Trump and use Rogan's show as propaganda and say, it wasn't me who censored you, it was the Democrats who forced me to censor you. And now that Trump's president, I'm done with censorship and I'm on your side. And Joe just gave him a platform to do it. One sec, let me find the name of the video where this clip is. So this is pretty crazy how dense Rogan is. The older you get, if you're a Joe Rogan fan, the more you realize he He is quite a dense guy. By his own admission, he says, I'm a moron. I'm an idiot all the time. When you're younger, you're like, no, you're not, Joe. You're so smart. And you get older and you're like, oh my gosh, he is pretty dense. This is a great example. And naive. He's naive as well.
A picture of elk meat. Just go see who likes it.
Joe Rogan's eating them immediately.
Oh, and then you're seeing all the comics that like his posts.
Yeah, this other thing about Elon. Elon's going to steal everybody's money. He has $400 billion. I'm telling you, he's not going to steal your money.
Dude, that's what I mean. Elon has all this money. He's not going to try to get more. What have you ever known a multi-billionaire, someone with a lot of money, to try and get more money? To use all of the money that they have to try and get more money and power. They would never. Come on. They already have money. Like, dude, were you born yesterday? Do you not think about the things that you're saying? What billionaire has not tried to get more money? What ultra wealthy person has not tried to lobby for more power and control? Which ultra wealthy people have said, yeah, I'm good. I'm just going to sit on the money that I have? None of them. They all seek to accumulate more. That's the nature of the whole capitalist system. Is the person who accumulates the most is the winner.
Billionaires don't want to steal your money. And you're like, yes, they do. Yeah. That's how they became billionaires. You fucking idiot.
Whenever Rogan is brought up on a podcast, especially with comedians, there's a hesitancy to say anything negative about him as if they're talking about their boss. But Dan seems to be different. When it comes to addressing Rogan and the shameless groveling that happens around him, he doesn't sugarcoat how he feels. The truth is, Rogan has done a lot for comedians, which some deserve more than others. So, of course, he's now surrounded by a whole pool of comics who might as well be his personal cheerleaders. No matter what he says or does, that's the ecosystem we have right now. Despite this, Soda brought up this interesting fact about Rogan's club, the Comedy Mothership.
From what I've heard from people that I know in Austin, it is like the alternative for like you can like the Comedy Mothership is so tight knit,
right?
And so I also heard it's.
I'm gonna try to find the place where he has the Zuckerberg interview.
Not a fun hang if you're an Austin comic.
What, the Mothership?
If you're not like in with Rogan and his crew, if you're coming up, it's not like the Cellar. The Cellar, you could sit at the bar and feel awkward. Yeah. I've heard the Mothership, you have to get past Navy. Like, you fucking pussies.
I gotta tell you that.
There's like cool.
List says he loves the club, jokingly, as if Rogan was behind him with a compound bow, pointing at his head. Speaking of compound bows, Soda mentioned the Zuckerberg moment. Some of you might be aware that Mark Zuckerberg looks a little different these days. And with him being on JRE, suddenly being into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and hunting, it's painfully obvious that this was a calculated effort to become more relatable, not only as a regular human, but someone that could instantly put a smile on Joe's face.
You know what? We're also lucky that you got into jiu-jitsu. Because I think that had an effect on you. You look different.
And it worked. Joe seems very...
So Joe Rogan literally thinks Mark Zuckerberg had this real change of heart where he's now pro-free speech and against the Democratic Party as Trump gets elected. Not because he's sucking up to Trump, not because he doesn't want to get buried by Trump after censoring his campaign on behalf of the Democrats during the election cycle, which he admitted to doing on Joe Rogan's show. He's not doing this opportunistically to try and get Trump's favor and the favor of the U.S. government. No, it's because he started doing jiu-jitsu. He started doing jiu-jitsu and his character got so much better and he became one of the good billionaires. He was one of the bad tech oligarchs who was censoring people, but now he's one of the good tech oligarchs because he started doing jiu-jitsu. He got his brown belt. Like, holy shit. You have to be so naive. And all of Rogan's fans were cooking him in the comments for this one, destroying him. Just like, you really believe this, Joe? You really believe that now that Trump is elected, Mark Zuckerberg has had a change of heart and become a good person and a free speech warrior because he started doing jiu-jitsu? No, he's just sucking up to Trump. He just wants to continue receiving government subsidies and, favorable treatment from the U.S. state. Duh.
very happy with Zuckerberg's evolution. Nothing strange about this change at all. I'm sure it's totally genuine that Zuckerberg, in this current political climate, conveniently goes on Rogan after years of his platform being accused of suppressing free speech and leaning too far left. Now that Trump wins, he's now complaining about the previous administration right after telling Rogan how much he loves hunting. Dan refers to one of the best moments from this latest episode when Zuckerberg gets caught up when trying too hard to relate to Joe.
That they get so much money, stop calling them dorks and just start being like, you're the man, Zuck, you're the man. And he's like, buy me a thick collared t-shirt, give me a gold chain. Like that episode with Rogan was embarrassing.
It's crazy how it looked. The look, I didn't listen to it, but the
hunting part where Joe Rogan's like, what kind of bow you use? And Mark Zuckerberg's like, oh, I don't know, I can't remember it right now.
You knew what you were doing.
Yeah. Although my favorite is bow and arrow.
I mean, if you're just trying to get meat, it's not the most effective. The most effective is certainly a rifle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mostly use a rifle just because it's so much more efficient. But yeah, another.
What kind of bow do you have?
Gosh, I didn't get to do it this season. But
and Rogan goes, what kind of bow you use? And Zuckerberg goes, oh,
one of those like bows people use.
You're like, dude, you tried to pivot too hard to the bro
with an arrow.
First he says bows are his favorite, but then Joe says, it's not the most effective at hunting.
Yeah, more and more comedians now are starting to criticize Rogan and his ecosystem, which is nice because, I mean, Rogan was always rich and somewhat out of touch, but there was a distinct change that happened in his show once he signed the Spotify deal and became, generationally wealthy, millions and millions of dollars, basically able to do whatever he wants. And he signed a contract with Spotify that a lot of people think forced him to basically have handlers, have people like Peter Thiel who can control who gets on his show and who doesn't, which is why he has all these people like Zuckerberg on now, or Peter Thiel himself. And he talks about going to dinners with wealthy billionaires now, where I'm sure, Tim Dillon has hinted that these dinners are held by Peter Thiel in order to bribe people in Rogan's ecosystem to push his narrative, which is what Rogan does all the time. And Elon, of course, I mean, Rogan's ball washing of Elon is insufferable. It's impossible to listen to the guy talk about Elon Musk without wanting to puke, the way that he praises him and treats him like he's a real life Tony Stark, like he's saving America or something. A lot of people believe that this happened after the Spotify deal. So now a lot of comedians are coming forward and saying, come on, man, you're being ridiculous. When Elon did a Roman salute, you were acting like everybody was being ridiculous for being shocked by it. Like, no, he knew what he was doing. He straight up did a Roman salute. Obviously, that's going to be in the news. That's not just the fake news media trying to take down your buddy. That's a real concerning thing that a lot of people were right to be to pay attention to. Also, he's not funny. That's another thing that's happening now, is a lot of people are pointing out that the podcast is really what made him famous, and Fear Factor, not his comedy. And he's basically desperate to be a well-respected comedian, and he uses his podcast to prop himself up in the world of comedy. I mean, he used that Spotify deal to open his comedy club, and it's gotten even worse lately because now he only does comedy at his comedy club where people are traveling from all around to see him. He's performing only to fans of his podcast, which means that they're going to laugh at his jokes even if they're shit. So then when he did his last comedy special, after only practicing at his own club, it bombed and tanked and got terrible reviews because it just wasn't funny, because he wasn't practicing he didn't have to bomb at all. He was practicing his jokes in front of a captive audience. So then when he shared them to the world, it was not as sharp as he thought it was. Long live the ACP. Absolutely. ACP.US. We got almost 700 people in here now. Shout out to everyone. Red salute. Solidarity forever. Join the ACP at acp.us/join. Check out our program at acp.us/program. And also support us here at Midwestern Marx. All of our funding here at the Institute comes from Super Chats, YouTube members, and Patreon supporters. The best way to support us without having YouTube steal your money is to go to patreon.com/MidwesternMarx. Tons of exclusive content there. You get a whole free ebook if you become a Patreon member. You get one of the most important books written in the last century. So lots of perks there. Make sure you do it. Otherwise, I'll fight you. Give me your money or I'll fight you. Give me your lunch money, kids. Rogan's not a comedian. He's a corporate shill. Sadly, yes. And he got a development deal with Disney back in the day, too. He talks about it. He says, like, oh, when I got my development deal with Disney, I realized the secret to life was to get enough money so that you don't have to worry about your bills. It's like, no shit, man. That's why I'm a communist. But anyways, it's like, why did Disney signal him out for a development deal? It's kind of sketchy, kind of weird, but whatever. Yup, ACP, let's go. Let's go. What up, Betty Midwestern Mark? Should have Alexander McKay on again. I would love that. I love talking to Alexander. He's a sharp dude. I watch his show all the time. Love the Marx Engels Lenin Institute. Would love to have him on. Should do that again soon. With a little fucking dignity, Joe. He doesn't have any left, man. I mean, when you're having Peter Thiel on and Zuckerberg and Elon, and you're just ball washing these guys, just praising them, it's not good, folks. It ain't good. And he wasn't doing that kind of stuff before the Spotify deal so much. What's funny is Duncan Trussell warned him about it. Duncan Trussell is pretty based. He's like this less trippy type guy. And he warned Rogan way back in the day. I'll show you. I think I have the video. Yeah, here it is. Oh. YouTube's glitching out on me here.
You have.
I like Duncan. He's a cool guy. One of my favorite people in the Rogan sphere.
You have such a crazy power that if you're not careful, folks from deep, dark wells of perspective are going to infiltrate your... Dude, you have to watch out because people are going to like try to exploit you. That's the main thing. Is like people recognizing what you are, who have political agendas, will infiltrate your and then start blowing out their radioactivity into the world, right? That's a fear.
It's been a slow burn, but Duncan Trussell's prediction is finally...
There, he predicted it, that these people would start using Rogan's platform to spew various political agendas. And then this video goes through the various people who have done that, Zuckerberg being one of them. You also have this Egyptian nationalist pyramid guy. This guy who was full of shit. And then you have Bono from U2, that liberal cuck. That guy who raises money for charity, then sends it to U.S.-backed regime change efforts in Africa. Approach to talking to right-wing people who are worried about losing free speech under socialism. I tell them that socialism is the only way to actually have free speech and freedom of thought and freedom of debate. Because capitalism can't live up to any of the ideals that liberalism sets out for itself. This liberal ideal of free speech can't be adhered to when you have an economy that's dominated by the capitalists, where the media is owned by the likes of Rupert Murdoch. So a lot of right-wing people nowadays understand that the media is fake news, that the media is a bunch of hogwash, it's bullshit, it's controlled by the advertisers and the corporate entities who own it. So you say that's the free speech that we have under capitalism, a free speech where all anti-war, pro-working class voices are banned, and the media is just a pure apparatus of brainwashing and political polarization, keeping people divided and fighting each other, keeping the working class divided. So that's the free speech that we have under capitalism, and the education system is controlled that way. A lot of right-wing people will admit that the colleges are really corrupt, and are basically brainwashing centers or places where they train up the new CIA agents. The new ruling class is trained up at Stanford, Yale, all these other Ivy League universities. So I like to point out that we don't have any free speech under capitalism, and the only way to achieve freedom of debate is to have things be publicly owned, including the media. All right, folks. That's all I got in me for today. Thank you for hanging out. Patreon.com/MidwesternMarks, acp.us/join, and check out Red America, the party's theoretical journal. My paper that I've been working on for like 2-3 years now about the gold standard and the credit system and the evolution of capitalism into socialism and the system of central economic planning is going to be published soon. There will be multiple follow-up articles that I'll do, and then we'll hopefully compile them all into a book. But I'm really excited to show you guys my research and what I've been working on for so long. So that's all from me, though. Join the Midwestern Marks Discord so you can recommend videos that you want me to watch and react to on the next stream. Make sure to subscribe. And that's all I got. We'll see you on the next one.
Stand up, all victims of oppression, for the tyrants fear your might. Don't cling so hard to your possessions, for you have nothing if you have no right. Let racist ignorance be ended, for respect makes the empires fall. Freedom is merely privilege extended, unless enjoyed by one and all. So come, brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. The International unites the world in the song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The international ideal unites the human race. Let no one build walls to divide us, walls of hatred nor walls of stone. Come greet the dawn and stand beside us. We'll live together or we'll die alone. In a world poisoned by exploitation, those who have taken, now they must give. And end the vanity of nations, we've but one earth on which to live. So come, brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. The International unites the world in the song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The international ideal unites the human race. And so begins the final drama, in the streets and in the field. We stand unbowed before their armor, we defy their guns and shields. When we fight, provoked by their aggression, let us be inspired by life and love. For though they offer us concessions, change will not come from above. So come, brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. The International unites the world in a song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The International ideal